I'm the head of mobile application development at Thomson Reuters, and as mentioned, I sort of come from a media background, so it's kind of interesting. What am I even doing here? I think it was an interesting journey for me, but I'd like to share with you what I think is really exciting about mobile and data. Now, I'm here to talk about financial services and financial data, but Thomson Reuters is a very diversified data business. We like to think of ourselves as a knowledge business, which is quite cool, right? It's basically the financial services that you know and love. I mean, obviously, we have a big finance business, we've got a big risk business. We also have a massive tax and accounting business, legal business, accounting business, and of course, the Reuters media business, which is one of the biggest news agencies in the world. We have journalists and photographers on the ground in pretty much every part of the world, covering every single major crisis and sporting event that happens. And at the same time, we have the largest number of lawyers. Very, very interesting business. And what's really interesting about that is we have many different types of data. And many different types of data is just an indication of the kind of connected world that we're living in. And we're trying to figure out, where do we sit in this new modern world where there are search boxes, there's social collaboration, there's social filtering, there's aggregation, consumers are moving from one channel to another, then back again. People don't really know what the monetization model behind any of this is. It's a really, really interesting and disruptive place to be. However, the enterprise has sort of lagged behind. But we know that the future behaviors of the enterprise are dominated by the past behaviors of the B2C consumer. So there are loads and loads of lessons to be learned and loads of interesting things that can be applied and reapplied across the new enterprise businesses of the future. So I'm here just to talk very, very briefly about the sorts of things that we think the consumer world has done really well, which we are kind of ready to adopt from an enterprise point of view. And they predominantly are experience, marketplaces, push, and connectivity. So experience. Now, experience is a really highly hyped thing, but we know that experience matters. If we look at the consumer space, we see that the person with the best experience tends to win. That experience can be the user experience, it can be the visual design, or it can be the kind of experience that technology enables through a function of providing aggregate data, which leads me quite nicely to connectivity. And connectivity, I don't mean connectivity in the sort of mobile sense, which is kind of ironic. I don't mean LTE, I don't mean 4G. I mean the connective tissue that allows data to work together. Data that is unstructured. Someone writes an article about a company, about its directors, and potentially about its competitors. We as human beings read that. We have some domain knowledge, we understand that. But right now, the technology doesn't really enable us to dig in deeper and build these connections over multiple articles and multiple periods of time on scale. We have individuals who look at these articles and try and extract whatever is valuable, digest it, and regurgitate it to the audience. We're now at a point where technology and algorithms and techniques are advanced enough for us to be able to really do that and create an experience that links all of these and mines this unstructured data and links it to structured data. Market performance, for example, future expectation of market performance, or possibly what you really should be looking at when you wake up in the morning via a push notification. So push is quite interesting because it changes consumer behavior. If you look at most of you, I'm sure, have Facebook on here. How many of you actually launch Facebook as a result of getting a notification? A notification that tells you someone in your network is doing something that you might find interesting at any point in time. We do this really, really badly in our enterprise sector. We don't allow real-time contextualized information to go to our users' mobile devices. We don't allow them to digest that quickly. We don't allow them to react to that quickly. But you can imagine how this could dramatically change the way people interact with their data sources. And of course, finally, marketplaces. So, of course, great story about how you get your first customer in the financial services space. It's hard. I mean, we're a risk-averse business. We don't want to be the first one. We want to be the second one, or hopefully the 10th one. However, companies like ours that have these vast brands, these vast sources of data, these platforms that people know and trust, we could really easily look at a completely different marketplace model where we do what we do best. I mean, I come from a small, agile media startup background, so the timescales at which everything happens here blows my mind. But The reality is, the reason that happens is because there's a lot of complexity and there's a lot of inherent trust. It needs to happen this way. But that doesn't mean that startups can't really look at the same sector and do what they do best. And what they do best is innovate. They're best placed to figure out what is new, different, disruptive without the vested interests of the large organizations. And all the large financial services organizations in this city and the world can really work effectively to enable that. They can create a platform, they can create a marketplace that allows startups to take data, to get access to customers, to get their first customer, to get their third customer, to help them scale when they get their 10th. All of these things are things that big, slow, or corporations can actually do effectively and foster innovation in the world. Of course, that's not to say we're doing all of these things today, but that's why I have a job, I guess. We're looking to a very, very exciting future where companies like ours, and probably companies like yours, try and figure out where we sit in this entire marketplace, where we sit in this sort of new age of innovation. And I believe that there are a lot of lessons to be learned from the way the consumer customer, the average consumer, has been interacting with the services that they know and love, social media, music and entertainment, that have very, very relevant stories for us here today. So I think it's a really exciting time for us to be here, even from a small media background. Thank you.